Inspirational Hank Green once said, "Life's all about not dying and having sex." So, but there's more than one way to reproduce. In fact, organisms produce in all kinds of different ways. That's what we're going to talk to you today about, reproduction. There are two main types of reproduction. You have your sexual reproduction, which involves, well, it's more complex. And then you have your asexual reproduction, which is much simpler. Asexual reproduction is used by bacteria and other simple organisms like your protists, your parameciums, your amoebas. And like an example, binary fission, how bacteria reproduce. It results in two identical daughter organisms, and they're both physically and genetically identical. And because of this, there's a lot less genetic diversity in these populations. We're going to focus more, though, on the sexual reproduction because, quite frankly, that's just more interesting. It's seen in more complex organisms, like you got your flowers. Flowers are examples of sexual reproduction, and your animals, like us. Our biography features famed dictionary writer Merriam-Webster, who identifies sex as either the two major forms of individuals that occur in many species and that are distinguished respectively as male or female. It just so happens that sexual reproduction requires a male and a female. The gamete that the male provides is sperm, and the gamete that the female provides is the egg. Mitosis and meiosis. All right, we're going to talk about meiosis now. Meiosis is very similar to mitosis, which mitosis is actually a form of asexual reproduction. Meiosis is essentially mitosis, but there's two divisions and only one replication. And because of this, it results in cells with half the amount of genetic material, so half the number of chromosomes as the original cell. Another key feature of meiosis is the crossing over and independent assortment. Now because, like we previously said, there's a male and a female gamete, each have half the genetic material, and that combines, so you have a blend of two different things instead of just one thing. But now you add additional diversity components of crossing over, where chromosomes trade genes, and independent assortment, where the chromosomes in the cell are randomly assigned to any one gamete and any one offspring within those gametes, which creates a whole blend of diversity that we see in our human population today, and other populations, but mostly humans. Some examples of pre-zygotic barriers include habitat isolation. For instance, I run around on land, the whale swims in the ocean. Temporal isolation, which is the separation of when the organisms mate, the different species mate. For instance, some species may mate at night. For instance, possums mate at night, and your average gray squirrel may mate during the day. Another example will be behavioral isolation. For instance, humans do stupid stuff like get drunk and send stupid texts to people to attract mates, where whales make noises like in the ocean to attract mates. Mechanical isolation is essentially square hole, round peg. It just doesn't work. Finally, gametic isolation, which means, for instance, a sperm whale's sperm won't fertilize a chicken egg. Some examples of post-zygotic barriers, which remember affect reproduction after fertilization, include reduced hybrid viability. Reduced hybrid viability is essentially in the off chance that a square hole round peg or sperm whale chicken combination were to happen, that the sperm chicken would then be a weak, feeble little thing that would die pretty soon and not ever be able to amount to anything. Another example of a post-zygotic barrier is reduced hybrid fertility. And a perfect example of this is a horse and a mule, or a horse and a donkey, which create a mule. And while the mules may pack a powerful wallop with their kick, they can't reproduce, so there's no mule babies running around. Finally, hybrid breakdown. And hybrid breakdown is essentially the hybrid are able to reproduce, but the hybrid's young, meaning that after the hybrids are hybrids and then the hybrids reproduce with each other, that next generation is going to die soon and not amount to anything, kind of like the sperm chain, which we don't see for a reason.